Okay, our next chapter from The Clue in the Crumbling Wall is chapter 17, A Pocket in the Wall. Leaving the old sailor to explore the beach, the three girls turned their attention to the high retaining wall which marked the rear boundary of the Heath estate. Only the treetops in the gardens above them were visible. Directly in front of the stone wall grew tall briar bushes. "We'll never be able to get over," Bess Marvin declared as she followed her chums along the sand, "and I don't see any steps." "Hello, what's this?" she cried all of a sudden. The girl had spied something half buried in the sand. Examination revealed that it was George's lost riding breeches. When their owner saw the condition they were in, she announced she would never wear them again. Nancy was thoughtful. That boy who took them, he just seemed to appear on the beach out of nowhere. She paused. Bess and George waited expectantly. "I don't recall seeing the boy scale a wall," Nancy continued after a moment. "He must have reached the beach in some other way." "You mean by the cloister?" asked Bess, staring at the crumbling wall. "Maybe. I'm sure there's an opening of some kind along here." Pushing ahead, Nancy began to examine the base of the wall. In many places, bushes and young trees had grown out from it, anchoring their roots in the cracks between the stones. Marsh flies had made life miserable for the girls, and briars scratched them unmercifully. Bess was all for giving up the search. Even Nancy became discouraged, though she would not admit it. "That boy came through here," she insisted stubbornly. "There must be a passageway, and we're going to find it." Her determination was rewarded. 20 yards farther on, she parted some briar bushes and saw revealed several large stones which apparently never had been cemented into the wall. She pushed against the center one. To her surprise, it moved easily. "Girls, this may be the entranceway," she cried. Nancy pressed against the stone. It fell inward to reveal a flight of 8 steps leading upward to an arched passageway. "The cloister!" Nancy cried gleefully. To enlarge the entrance hole, she pushed against another stone. At first it would not move. Then suddenly it gave way, weakening a whole section of the wall. A great mass of debris came tumbling down upon the girls. Nancy seized George's arms, jerking her backward, barely in time to miss being struck by the stones. Bess, scrambling to escape, lost her balance and fell into a thorn bush, scratching herself painfully. "Oh, girls, I'm terribly sorry," Nancy apologized. "It was all my fault for moving the stone." "I hope the entrance isn't blocked," said George. There still was an opening, though barely large enough for a person to squeeze through. Nancy scrambled inside and led the way up the flight of stone steps. At the top, the trio paused to catch their breaths. "Oh, how beautiful!" exclaimed Bess. "It was worth all the trouble. Why, this is like a place one dreams about." Before them stretched a long flagstone passageway. One side of it was set with square columns built of stone. Between these grew the heavy stalks of vines, which formed a solid roof of leaves. The other side of the cloister was a solid stone wall with deep insets at intervals of 25 feet. "Just like the picture we saw in the book," Nancy cried in delight. "Oh, what an attractive walk to a bathing beach." Now to find the hidden treasure," cried George. "Come on." Hopefully the girls examined the insets along the wall, some of which had built-in stone shelves. In one, a statuette lay on its side. In another, a broken vase had tipped over. "Nothing here," Bess started to say as she reached the next one, only to break off. Nancy had held up a finger in warning. "Listen," she whispered. At the girls' command, both Bess and George stood still. Faintly, they could hear men's voices. The sounds came from the other side of the wall, some little distance away. Cautiously, the girls stole along the flagstones, hardly daring to breathe. As they reached another niche, the deep voices came to them distinctly. "This looks like a good spot," a man said, making no attempt to speak low. "Let's have your pick, Cobb." With a start, Nancy realized that the man on the other side of the wall intended to do more destruction there. The voices were strangely familiar. Where has she heard them before? Suddenly she knew. She had heard them the night of her imprisonment in the tower. The men fell to work with chisel, pick, and sledgehammer. Tiny stones and bits of mortar rattled down at the girl's feet. They're wrecking this lovely wall, George whispered indignantly to her chums. Oh, I'm tempted to tell them to stop. We're trespassers here, Bess reminded her. They may have been ordered to do the work. Don't say anything. As the three friends waited, a decorative ledge loosened itself from the wall niche. Repeated blows from the other side of the barrier threatened to send it crashing to the flagstone floor. Unable to witness such wanton destruction, Nancy stepped forward to catch the ledge as it fell. With Bess's help, she laid it carefully on the ground. Straightening up, the Drew girl gazed at the wall niche, now disfigured. What she saw caused her to draw in her breath sharply. Where the ledge had been, there now was revealed a long, narrow pocket. Scarcely daring to hope, Nancy ran her hand into the dark opening. Her groping fingers touched something hard. A box! Nancy, George warned tensely. Directly above the girl's hand, a stone chisel was poking through the wall. The men on the other side of the wall were working diligently. In another moment, they would succeed in making a large opening in the niche. Nancy did not wait to be discovered. She seized the heavy box and with the other girls turned and fled along the cloister. For a time, they could hear the two men working on the wall. Then, gradually, the sounds died away. We're safe, Nancy exclaimed. Now let's open the box. And as you might guess, that's where the chapter ends. This was a short one.